Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Comix Rant Mini, and I'm your host Arvin Bautista, and this channel is called Comix Rant, and I love comics so much that I just have to share it with everybody. It's a very visual medium, so I like presenting it in this way so I can just flip through pages and maybe get you guys interested in it. And go out and buy some comics. Comics are so great. It's just my passion, and it's something I really love. I want to make my own. And while I'm not, I love reading a ton of them. So for this episode, we're talking about Festival of Shadows, a Japanese ghost story, done by Atelier Sento. They are a French duo, Cécile Brun and Olivier Pichard, and they create all sorts of stuff. They make comic books, video games, they illustrate all sorts of things inspired by their travels in Japan. They have a website, you can go there, and they basically say exactly what I just said. They do great stuff, and I saw this in the library. As you can see, Visitation Valley is this library in San Francisco. Whoever curates this stuff is really good because I always find really good things. This is published by Tuttle, and this is the second book that I've read from Tuttle, and looks like there's some kind of international organization when I looked them up. They print it in Singapore. I believe they have an office in Japan, and I think one might be in Europe somewhere, probably France. And the other book I read was this. It's interesting because I think it shares a few similarities here. The artist is Spanish, I believe, or European, let's say, because I can't remember. Just like this couple here, but they kind of look that book, the artist actually works off of manuscripts that are translating a Japanese writer's short stories. It's one of the Comix Rant minis. You can take a look. And this one is about that couple's travels in Japan. And it's a made-up story. Beautifully rendered. Really nice. But it's nice to see a foreign view into the world of Japan. And very respectful of the culture and even the medium of manga. Here and the other book that I mentioned. But in this case, this is a Japanese ghost story. When I went there to the library, I kind of went to town on books, and I didn't realize that I just kept borrowing all these horror-themed books, or even supernatural. I don't know why. It was. Anyway, for Festival of Shadows, it has 4 chapters, and I guess there's like a couple other small chapters at the end, but it goes through the seasons in Japan. And what I appreciate is the title pages kind of show like a little either food, fruit, or something to depict that season. So it's kind of nice. That's indigenous to Japan, or at least I think it is. And persimmons and I think cicadas. So in fall, and I remember when I first started reading this, we can just flip through the pages here so you guys can enjoy. When I first started reading it, I had no idea what was going on. You're introduced to the concept of these people that help ghosts move on, basically, within the span of a year in their lives. And it's all generations, mostly older people, except for our heroine, who is younger, and her buddy. And it's great. It's, like these cool looking ghost designs. I kind of like these. Oops, sorry. I keep bumping into my camera. I like these ghost stories that are, I guess you could say like, they're kind of like this Miyazaki Spirited Away style, but even older than that, where a lot of manga depicts their ghosts as kind of like these caricature-y beings are stylized, just very stylized monsters and spirits. And, it's kind of got they kind of got cool texture going on throughout the book. And I like the way the monsters and everything is depicted, to be honest. So it's kind of nice, she lives in like this house that, you know, I can only picture in my head as the typical traditional Japanese countryside houses, right? Like not really in the city kind of houses, and furnishings, and they even have like, you know, everything. It just brings you a piece of Japan that's nice. It's this nice kind of countryside kind of environment, and you know, everything just looks great here. Let me just flip through this. And it doesn't just stay there. So we got the persimmons here coming from the fall, and she helps out her neighbors in this town. And it really gives you, I get like a deep sense of atmosphere when I read this. Like, you know, they're buying mackerel. The chapters are actually broken up into these even smaller chapters, which is nice. Something I've definitely been thinking of in my own comic book. So, you know, it's somewhat done in that one snippet, that segment, slice of life, I guess you could say, for this supernatural story. It all connects towards the end, but it's nice that it kind of presents it like this, like, okay, this person's grocery shopping, she bumps into these people, there's this soul person that she's trying to take care of. The souls don't really remember who they are or what happened, so it's their job to get them going. And, you know, she'll walk past places that I've only seen in pictures or played in games. So, and then now depicted in comics. So it's kind of nice to see like this side of Japanese culture where it's like these little shops with even like down to like the covered walkways so people can walk there. And that she goes into this bookstore that's shut down. Like, I think everybody can kind of relate to that. And how the bookstore keeper was nice. You know, all these small things that kind of build this world that the artists definitely are aware of when they go travel. So rain and all that kind of stuff in the fields, in the countryside, and all these things really add to it. And then here's some cool horror stuff going on where these ghosts kind of, you know, roam the countryside. And so she has to do her best. These are like kind of ghosts that have stayed on too long. So it's a part of Japanese folklore that's working its way into like this countryside stuff. And it ends up being I guess you could say it's a romance type of story, but it is definitely just a small segment of it. Winter, so now you got teas and, you know, the kind of coasters that you would have and how you would heat the water and all that kind of stuff. So it adds to the culture again, like I'm saying. Now it's like snowing and, you know, there's a passage of time, which is nice. You get to see all the seasons of Japan, at least depicted in this format. And it's just a lovely, lovely book. I'm going to try to shut up for a little bit. Or at least not talk as much. But, so you guys can kind of enjoy the look of these things. I'm not really spoiling anything. There's a lot of things that go on. And I might even reach the end of this, so just warnings to anybody who doesn't want to see any more. You're sold and you want to go buy it. But the story seems simple at first. And I actually Googled up some stuff after I read this book. I was like, wait, did that just happen? Is what I'm thinking what I think is the story they're trying to depict? And I think it is, because I'll see other people try not to spoil it for others. But they'd be like, hey, if anybody wants to talk about this book and what just happened, I'm game. So hey, if you guys read this book and you do want to talk about it, maybe this is it's not quite a spoiler. This is just the tip of the iceberg here. It's a ghost story that's a romance. There's a lot of intricate, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, rules that this world kind of works with. And it gets even crazier later. And there's some things here that are nice that they take the time to depict, like where your main character lives, and there's a little map and her house. You know, this stuff is great, you know, because I'm trying to like wrap my head around this stuff and how these screen doors work in Japan. Like, how do you keep the mosquitoes out? All that kind of stuff. And it's nice to see that they spent this much time on it. It is not an easy thing. And you know what's great is I look at this book and I'm like, wow, what an achievement. Like all this stuff that they've done. What's even crazier, you go to their site, they've actually done multiple books. They've done games. Like, wow, how inspiring is this? Spring, you got the Japanese character there and the blossoms going. So you kind of really get into the passage of time here. Just a really inspiring book. So, and what's great is, so now the main character actually shifts to Tokyo. And so you get a little countryside. In the first few chapters, she goes into the city, lives there. And, it's a little bit more metropolitan of a life. There's an artist that she sees and all this kind of stuff. But it still connects very much to the main story and ghosts. Let's just look at this little detail here. It just looks so cool. I love this kind of texture. Tezuka has done certain things in Dororo that I like, and I kind of like this, like, they're kind of realistic, but not really, right, characters? But then the ghost designs are just, like, out of this world, like, abstract almost. And I like the mix. They really play off the mix. The colors are fantastic, and it all works together. By the end of the book, there's a lot of things going on, and it is nice that after I've finished reading it, let me just flip through it real quick. I won't try. It won't spoil any much because it's like a heavy concept going on that you really do have to sit down and chew. And I think that's why I like. So they have all these other books, which I think this is theirs, but Tuttle publishes all these other things, which seem to be Japanese centric. See, I didn't do much research here, but I just get it from the kind of books that they're pumping out. So there's a North American publishing arm, Japan, and then Asia Books, which is in Singapore. And it looks like they do welcome also. And I like this hybrid. I grew up in Hong Kong. I'm a Filipino, grew up in Hong Kong, moved to the US. So it was an international school in Hong Kong, and I really enjoyed my time there. It kind of exposed me to all these different cultures. And I feel like these books that they've been publishing, where you get European artists, Japanese stories, settings in Japan, kind of give you a picture that's really big, or world vision, or some, a giant cultural look. And it's not I don't think it's disrespectful. So it kind of like works in there. Like, it's almost like, what do people see Japan as coming in as foreigners, right? Like, what is this culture that they see? And, it's very rich. This book is very rich with that. And very great. Oh, let me see. I think there's another map with another map. So this is like her place that she stayed in Tokyo, right? There's like a cross section of what it would be. It's a nice place. It's a loft. And painting tools from the artists, like, you could see like, okay, these are the tools that these guys probably used. And they know Tokyo, so they have a map of it. It's like a tourist view. But it's also very practical because you get to see the world that she inhabits. It makes it even more real. And I don't know if this map is accurate or not, but makes it more real and more grounded. So these people become even more realistic to me, I feel. The place that they're in, even more rooted. And, if they're one of their underlining things in making books like this about, watermelon and I think tea. If it's to inform you of their travels in Japan, they hit it on the head. But this book is more than that, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's really good stuff. I'm most likely going to put it on my shopping list of books to keep. And you can see, like, the art is just fantastic. Good stuff. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Comix Rant Mini. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I try to, the way I read books in the library, I just kind of grab everything and anything, and I will read it. If it's good, then I'm more than happy. So I'm not really sure what the target market is for this channel, but anybody who loves comics, wants to get into comics, I hope you tell everybody that you know and jump in and then just share comments. I've gotten a couple that share the same love for certain books that I've seen, and it's great. Let's just talk comics. So that's it for this episode of Comix Rant Mini. I'm Arvin Bautista, and this is Festival of Shadows, a Japanese ghost story by Atelier Sento. That's it for today. See you guys next episode.